Hello and welcome to Future Commerce, the podcast about the next generation of commerce. I'm Brian.
I'm Phillip. Lots for you here today. We're recording this just 10 days before our Vision Summit in Chicago here in 2023. Brian, June 15th, we'll be together in Chicago sharing the stage at the first ever public Vision Summit. You can get your tickets right now at futurecommerce.com/summit. And it's going to be a wild time. I have never put this much work into anything. This is by far the biggest thing we've ever done, Brian, and
easily.
I'm so excited.
I feel like we just keep ramping it up. Everything we do, we just go bigger every time. So Archetypes was insane in December.
It was insane. Yeah. And we're going to continue to raise the bar. Amazing speakers. Jose Cabaco, who is the head of storytelling over at Adidas, is keynoting for us. Going to sit down with Orchid Bertelsen, talk about how brands actually take the kinds of things that we do, trend forecasting, cultural insights, and specifically those around commerce. How do we take that and make that real? And so Orchid, in her former head of innovation role over at Nestle Foods, there's no better person. Also co-host of the Infinite Shelf podcast in Future Commerce.
Heyo.
So no better person to have that conversation. Also, Matt Klein, Ruby Taylor, Ashwin Krishnaswamy, incredible speakers, one day only. Creative Visuals coming alongside us in this season is the visual art director and the creative powerhouse behind the Smashing Pumpkins, Lizzo, Maxwell, and many others. Linda Strawberry is coming alongside us for this event.
How?
I don't know how we're doing it. It's incredible. I can't tell you anymore or else I'd have to kill you. But if this event doesn't kill me first, but we'll be there one way or another, June 15th, and it's a whirlwind. We'll be if you're not in Chicago, but you're in New York, and you're not planning to come to the Retail Innovation Conference in Chicago, the following week, June 20th through 22nd, Brian and I will be at Commerce Next, just in a couple weeks' time from the time of this recording. So head on over, futurecommerce.com/summit and get your tickets to the Vision Summit, and stay tuned because our big Visions drop is forthcoming, and you'll know it when you see it. Today, should we shift gears, Mr. Lang?
Lots to talk about right now in commerce. Lots happening.
Or do you think you're a loyal customer? Would you describe yourself as a loyal customer?
I mean, it depends on what brands or what products. Like, obviously, everyone that's ever listened to this podcast knows I'm a pretty big Costco fan.
Pretty big.
Yeah.
You're up there.
Yeah, I might be in their top 10 fans, maybe. Maybe top 3. I'm a pretty big Costco fan, but
a loyalist. That's a membership. It's
a membership, absolutely. And there's a few other things that I'm pretty loyal to. Like, I'm a pretty big Delta guy, and I have been for a long time.
And the Hilton, you've been on the Hilton train for a long, long time.
Yeah, less loyalty than they probably want me to have there. I do use them all the time.
You're
but
like a diamond member, it counts.
Yeah, true. True. I am. But that's by virtue of like the amount of travel that I do.
Which is like it's such a double-edged sword. I kind of take offense to the idea of loyalty, like customer loyalty, because it presumes the presence of disloyalty. I don't like this idea. It's like, I'm a disloyal customer.
I mean, I think loyalty, there's a show, it's an all-time show about loyalty, but there's a lot of disloyalty that happens in that show called Suits.
I never saw that one.
Oh, well, if you really want to watch a lot of Meghan Markle, that's the show to watch. But it's actually a pretty good show.
Is that the lady who also has a podcast named Archetypes?
Also, yeah, it's so weird. It's like simultaneous inspiration there. I feel like we wore it better, but
Oh, we wear Archetypes way better. The first episode, by the way, if you're listening to this first episode of our Archetypes podcast is now out. Host Kristen Wenzel is taking us through some of the stories that fill the Archetypes journal that we put out earlier this year. And but Meghan Markle, I never watched Suits. I should watch Suits.
Anyway, my point of talking about Suits was loyalty, and it's like loyalty is a two-way street. That's an interesting thing about loyalty. It's like, hey, like you gotta pay your people. Like that's part of loyalty.
How about this?
Yeah.
What most brands try to describe as loyalty is actually Stockholm syndrome.
It's
It's
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah.
it's not loyalty. It's sort of it's a manufactured loyalty for fear of repercussion. It's
Yeah. If I
we don't want to have
don't
to
book
give anything
enough
back to you. Yeah.
flights, I will not get my status for next year.
Right.
Like I'm afraid that I'm not going to get upgraded to a seat with 3 more inches of leg room.
I also think that loyalty is like this overwrought term that also supposes that people are actually even thinking about their choices. Because if I'm loyal to a person, and if I'm a loyal friend, if I'm a loyal and devoted husband, right? These are all conscious choices that I make when faced with decisions that make me have to make those conscious choices. Like, I am a loyal person. This is what I do because I have a mutual shared relationship and respect. We don't actually have that with brands. It doesn't.
Well,
A lot of it's muscle memory more than it is actual loyalty, but we don't have a better word for it. It's like more muscle memory and habit, and I would say like habituation of routine that perpetuates loyalty. Right?
I think for the best of them, there
Brand
might
loyalty. I mean,
there's there, yeah there's probably there probably is some of that conscious behavior going on, like for the best of the best. Like
that is, I would say, reserved for the few and far between cultural brands, cultural institutions of the world. The ones that I would say this might be,
but like,
as I'm
okay,
as I'm
like
trying. Go ahead.
there's like the Nike versus Adidas people, right? Like, and there are certain people who consciously will not buy Nike, right? Like they will, like,
Yeah,
or vice
Republicans wear
versa.
sneakers too. I remember that whole conversation. That's happened.
Yes. And like there's people who will consciously shop at Costco over, you know, other options, Walmart, whatever.
But there's on the subject of loyalty. Why did we broach this topic? It seems like the long-running and oft-cited but hardly present in economic data recession is something that is concerning a lot of people. A lot of mixed numbers. Still can't get a read on the economy. We keep adding jobs.
I think this was in our predictions episode. I think I've said I expect the economy to be super choppy this year. And I think that
But
we're
the
seeing it.
choppiness is strange because a lot of retailers are we're seing mixed signals, right? So if you look at a
Yes.
Nordstrom,
Yeah.
Nordstrom getting just destroyed in their earnings. But however, you look at I don't know, if you look at what, say, Walmart is doing in the world, or if you're looking at like a Costco, potentially that's where these often seen, like Costco as a membership, Walmart as sort of everyday low price. These were seen as they weren't always the digitally savvy. They weren't always the convenient, forward thinking brands, right? They were the ones who were a bit laggard, and they got their savings by being a little bit traditionalist and old school and maintaining the old ways of doing things. But that seems to be changing. I mean, we've talked ad nauseum on this show about Walmart's digital transformation over the
Just
last
had
couple of
something
years.
delivered today from them, and it was a good
Walmart
experience.
Plus got me through the MX program earlier this year, definitely changing how people think about it. But Costco seems to be shopping for an e-commerce platform now too, making a new investment. There was some rumblings. There's a job posting that made the rounds on Twitter recently, where Costco is looking for some digital strategists and some folks to help architect what it looks might be a North American e-commerce solution. Some people are saying, hey, maybe that, maybe if that happens in the next year or two, that could be a really big shift for Costco. Brian, this is where it gets a little fraught. Is what is a Costco? What e-commerce platform does Costco buy in
Is that where we're going
2023?
right
I
now?
mean, just for a minute, and then we'll wing
Yeah,
it back around to
shoot.
memberships. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
I'd love to get back to membership, but yeah, man, I have long thought about this because I would have loved to transform Costco's e-commerce experience many years ago because
once upon a time.
the Costco is my favorite, but like their e-com experience has been lacking.
to say the least.
It has improved a little bit over the past few years. UX has gotten a lot better. They've made some improvements, that are like just barely enough to keep them in line with like semi-modern e-commerce practices. Like
I have to wonder though, like, depending on what your Twitter or LinkedIn algorithm looks like, you might believe that, your e-commerce platform of choice is the natural choice. I wonder how an enterprise like Costco actually decides on a technology stack. And to date, I believe they're on some sort of custom build of some kind. I've
I
never
think it was actually
known.
some kind of SAP like derivative.
Okay.
Yeah, it might even be Hybris, like which is now SAP Commerce Cloud.
Could be.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it's something in the SAP realm. They're a big SAP company, I believe.
Well, they might be
So
loyal to SAP, and
they
that
might
would be
be.
if they were, you're likely to see some sort of variant. SAP has done a lot of work in the headless space in the last couple of years, sort of changing things. They're also their Martech acquisition from what was it, 2021? When did they acquire that Martech company? Help me out here. Based in Australia.
Marsis?
What's the Emarsis? Yeah,
Marsis,
that
yeah.
sounds
They
right. Yeah,
acquired Marsis, I want to say
21,
2021.
22.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Not 22, I
Yeah,
don't think. 21.
yeah. There was a headless play that sort of accompanied that, and it seemed like they were making a kit of parts to sort of modernize the stack as well. We've seen everybody do this to varying degrees of success. Salesforce did it with Demandware. I think it's the loyalty in the ERP space and what your business actually runs on has a lot of bearing on how you choose your e-commerce stack
The
in the
reason why
enterprise.
I think that they probably will stick with some sort of SAP product suite or like stuff that they already have is because Costco home grows all their talent. And so
Mm.
like they don't typically go out and hire like they do sometimes. They'll go out and hire people from outside of the Costco family, but a lot of the corporate Costco talent comes from the stores, from the warehouses. And so they get trained up by the people that are already there, which means that
It's like a perpetuating culture of.
it is, yeah, totally. And they take care of their people. It's a very incredible way to offer a career path or offer, options. But it means that usually I think you build upon what you've already built. So maybe they will go out and get something, but that would be a pretty big effort because they're going to have to retrain their whole workforce. And so, yeah,
It's going to be a long move. Speaking of memberships and memberships programs, there's a couple big news stories that took me by surprise the last few weeks. In the census, recently, our newsletter comes out every Wednesday, Friday. Would love to have you subscribe to it. We think about what current news has the biggest future altering impacts on brands and the way that customers develop expectations of brands. And one of those things that we're seeing right now, there is the first that I've ever seen. It may have existed prior, but Frontier has put out a all you can eat or all you can fly low price option for a low price fare. I think what was it, like $350.
$300, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah,
And
for all you can fly for the summer. Is that right? Is it
yeah,
just for the summer?
just for it was time
Yeah.
bound, I think, for the
So
summer. And it was if Frontier Airlines, which let's be honest, not the most desirable of all of the commercial airline logos. I would also say, like as you would correctly presume, it's your ass and gas. That's all you get when you buy this ticket. Like, I don't even think you can carry things in your pocket, brother.
You can. But if it's even like a millimeter over the size, you're going to get charged $10. And then if it doesn't fit, you're going to get charged to check your bag. Like, they're very, I mean, they're going to.
A lot of caveats. Yeah.
A lot of caveats. I think there's a lot of blackout dates on this too. So,
new fare class, it's an experiment, but experiments often lead to some competitive motions, right?
I mean, I could imagine like a parent gifting this to their student child who's out for the summer and wants to go travel around. It's like a college student who's excited to go travel around the US or wherever. And yeah, like this could be an amazing graduation present, like post grad thing. I'm like, go fly everywhere. You have an unlimited ticket. I would be super happy about that.
This has existed in other modes of transportation. I mean,
it has. That's right.
Right. So,
and also, I want to say this. I actually think that Frontier has done this before. I want to say, actually, I think this might be.
If only there were a way to search for this on the internet. Someone asked ChatGPT. Let me just make they may have done it. It doesn't actually matter because now is when we're reporting on it. I think there's an interesting perspective around who this is for, right? And I want to come back to someone that we haven't talked about in a little while. And her name is Carly. CARLY.
Yeah.
It's an acronym that stands for Can't Afford Real Life Yet. And our archetype of Carly, this persona that we developed back in 2019, was this idea that despite whatever age you might be, there is a kind of a person who just can't afford real life. And as we are seeing a K-shaped recovery and a K-shaped economy and K-shaped products and K-shaped brands and the world that has emerged post-pandemic, most everybody can't afford real life anymore, right? I mean, eggs are like $7 for a dozen.
Not at Costco,
or you have to wait in line, for an hour outside of Trader Joe's to get your $1.99 eggs. Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't we have this? And it reminded me of a story, Brian. We had post-graduation, Jackie's cousin came from England and came and visited us, stayed here in the States on a tourist visa for like 2 months and bought I think it was a $99 Greyhound bus pass.
Yeah.
That you can go anywhere on any Greyhound bus for like months on a $99 Greyhound bus pass, and has the most incredible stories, harrowing experiences, having, been robbed at knife point and having like crazy stuff.
I think the beauty of Frontier is you probably won't get robbed at knife point, but
it's Frontier who's doing the robbing at knife point, actually, when they're like they're the ones trying to get like more money out of you. Give me your money. But I think they do call it Frontier. I mean, like, that's what the Frontier was like. But I do think that there's a fun, there is many a memory to be made to the kind of person that might buy this ticket.
Yeah.
And it's a Carly. It's a person who wants to have experiences and pay and put up with a ton of frustration and a ton of
or maybe not frustration,
unknowns. Like, I mean, but there's a lot of unknowns. I think some of these unknowns are standby class fares. Like, you may get on the plane, you may not. It's going to come at a cost. And this is what I've always realized, especially when sort of being, budget conscious. There's always a cost associated. It's either your time, your patience, or your dollars. Okay. And sometimes paying more means that you get a little bit more of your time and you save a little bit of patience.
Yeah. There's the wear on the soul.
There is. There is.
You pay for you can pay a premium to not be bothered. And if you've got a lot of responsibilities or things to think about, then you might need that mental space. I was talking to Jason Nias from who's the president of US at Shopware, because I was out at the Shopware user conference in Germany speaking. And
wow, how was that?
It was amazing. A lot of energy.
Dusseldorf, you said. Yeah.
Duisburg. I flew into
Oh, okay.
Dusseldorf. Yeah.
Okay.
I probably just butchered both of those city names as I'm apt to do, but I think I got to speak on AI, and naturally everyone wanted to talk to me about AI, and so I got to explore a lot more of my own thoughts on AI as a result of this. Something that's really interesting is we think about the revolution, the industrial revolution, and how it pushed the boundaries of our bodies, right? It forced us into work situations and made work situations like long hours. We didn't know when to stop. And eventually we had to develop rules to protect workers from extending their bodies and their time too much and working too hard. And so eventually we now landed on something called OSHA, which is like the long tail outcome of those rules, workers' rights, and so on. But what we haven't really realized is how far and how taxing things are on our minds. And so, as AI pushes the boundaries of thought and human mental capacity, uh, I expect that we're going to have to start to see like rules or things put in place, boundaries of some sort, an OSHA for the mind, if you will. And so, currently, the way that people deal with this is they pay for premium experiences to give themselves the peace of
Mm.
mind as they go through their busy schedules and go do all the things they have to do. You can pay to give yourself that cushion of not having to think about how to get from point A to point B without frustration. And so
Hmm.
that's I think
Well, there's so much to unpack there, but one of the having written a piece about or two about this very topic in the last couple of years for Future Commerce, I think that there's a lot of this is actually the efforts of organized labor and public policy
yep.
that tries to court the the organized force that used to be organized labor, and so it was a voting block, right?
Right.
um and this is where potentially we have the upstart of a new sort of labor organization effort in the United States, at least, to try to understand. I don't know if it's so much as the protecting people's mental health as a function of work. I would say we have lost in society the structures that have given us the ability to share our load and burden with other people. So if
Yeah.
you lived 30 years ago, 40 years
Yes.
ago, you probably knew your neighbors and could ask them for help, right? You could have them not to watch your packages on your front step, but can you keep an eye on my kids while I go, take care of something unexpected? There's all these little breakdowns in the way that societies have become more and we've become more insulated in society from each other in our neighborhoods, right? The loss of communities and sort of the co-opting of communities for commercial purposes, something we talk a lot about with communities and community-centric brands. Those things that used to be, you
Yeah.
had a public square, a town square, or you had the rec center, or you had the lodge, or you
The
had
block, your block.
you might even
Yeah.
have a church. As those things are on the decline and we're becoming much more isolated from each other, we have to share all of that burden with a fewer number of people, and that's just people within your own family, or maybe you're shouldering it all on your own. So naturally, the workplace has become the place that has to help compensate for this, because you have to
Right.
have a community of people that you work with in the workplace. And that's why we have the rise of these sort of social groups and mandated social groups within the workplace, not just for entertainment and for bringing your whole self to work, but there's also an element of just trying to find people and connect with people who have similar life experience. ERGs is a wonderful example, like these
Yeah.
employee resource groups, wonderful example of it's a reflection of work having to compensate for other failings of society. And you can't blame it all on Facebook, unfortunately,
No.
because I haven't known my neighbors' names for much longer than Facebook has existed. But I digress. I do think that there's let's like actually take a hard left turn, because I do want to talk about one more topic.
I wanted to get back to membership because there was still more of this to get through
Well,
there.
yeah. So the membership piece is an interesting thing, because however you're seeing it playing out, it's really just trying to incentivize what we opened the show with, which is more brand loyalty and more brand recognition. And having part of what comes along with that is giving you more opportunities to have to intersect with that brand. So if you buy an all you can fly pass, you're going to have to intersect with Frontier more than you usually would. Or if you buy this new $200 sweatsuit from Southwest Airlines and you get $350 of flight credit as a result,
Right.
you are also causing other people to see you wear their merch and rep their gear while getting something out of it in return as well.
I think there's an interesting, so that that's what I want to call out. I think is the idea of brand loyalty is like, to your original point, a little bit silly. A lot of people buy stuff because it's a good product for a good price. Or at least they think it's going to be, right? I continue to buy Suja and drink Suja because I like it and I can buy it at Costco and it's a really reasonable price at Costco.
I need a whiteboard that's like days since last Suja mention, and then I have to like cross it off and put it back to 0.
And I bring it up because we're talking about brand loyalty right now, man. Like, it's the perfect time to bring it up. What looks like insane brand loyalty to a lot of people. You just brought up the whiteboard thing. I bring up Suja all the time. Like, it looks like it, but I only buy it because I like it. It's in my budget, and it gives me the benefits that I want, and I can get it at the place that I want to get it at. Like,
if any one of those things change, the calculus of your loyalty changes.
Correct.
In which case, I would say,
if Costco stopped carrying Suja, it'd probably be over for me. Genuinely, it would be over. The Suja love affair would be over.
If the product changed in some way that was significant, if the price changed, right?
So that's loyalty. Yeah. That's brand loyalty in a nutshell. Like,
no, it's not. It's just transactional relationships.
That's
like
exactly
that is
right.
Yeah. We're in it for something. We're all here. Yes. We're big kids. We know why we're here. Give me the thing that I want at a fair price, and if you don't, then we'll find someone else who will.
That's right.
But I can't think of any other sort of. How many other options for bottled green juice do you have at Costco? So that's the other challenge of this analogy, is that Costco curates, right? There are many options for this kind of bottled juice, cold pressed bottled juice, but there aren't many at Costco.
Correct.
Because they've curated one collection.
That's right.
Or a very small number.
But I do go to Kroger a lot too. Like, I'm in my local Kroger all the time, and I don't buy anything else. Like, and I occasionally I will go try. I will go try other green juices just to see what they taste like. And they're not much better or worse than Suja is. So.
I had a piece a couple of years ago called "Loyalty is Irrational."
Yeah.
And it is fundamentally irrational. The Costco relationship is a great example, because it is irrational for you to buy 18 bottles of Suja at a time. You would never do that in a grocery store.
Correct.
You just never would. It doesn't matter if they were the same unit price or not. You would never pick up 18 and put it in your cart.
Correct.
They just happen to all be in one cardboard box. It's easy to pick up.
Well,
right?
So to be fair, they come in 6 packs, and I do buy 3 of them.
Okay. All right, well then just delete all this. I don't know. But then, you are just an irrational person through and through. I think a lot of this is like, it also hinges on overconsumption, which becomes something that you try to rein in, right? You really start to rethink your decisions when times get tough. And it's really interesting how we just had a piece this week by Amy Madonia, who formerly of Hanes brand and most recently a digital innovation director over at Estee Lauder Company, good friend of Future Commerce advisory panel member. We love Amy, and she has incredible insights. She just wrote another piece for us talking about the shiny ball, which is, subscriptions and memberships, loyalty, and trying to manufacture that, and how a lot of brands chase this revenue model because the revenue, having a revenue model that's somewhat guaranteed or somewhat forecastable is in the best interest of a lot of brands who are trying to navigate, planning and forecasting. And wouldn't it just be nice if customers just gave us money on a regular basis that we could depend on? And so you see a lot of brands chasing this. It's an awesome piece, but it kind of comes at a time where she makes this case that during economic downturns and uncertainty, brands tend to look at memberships or loyalty, maybe a subscription program. They're looking at these things as the thing that makes up the difference. It is a lever for the business and not a benefit for the customer.
Right. 100%.
And when you chase that, you've already lost because you've forgotten the fact that it is a transactional relationship.
That's
and
right.
You have to bring something really compelling to the table.
This is why Prime is winning right now, because to talk about the ultimate membership, right?
That's true.
They're about to bring free or $10 phone plans to their subscribe. I will seriously consider switching my phone plan, because who can ignore free or $10? I mean, unless they're gonna run ads at me all the time, like the free TV. What was that called?
You get ads all the time. Do you ever pick up your phone and it says, we would like to call you about your auto insurance or something like that? It's like, your car's extended warranty. Like, there's always something that's being sold to you on your phone anyway. I get so much spam calls and text,
push notifications from all the apps that I have.
That's true too. Here's the rub. When things get tough, you start trying to reach into a bag of tricks, and membership in particular is not. While many brands are employing membership right now, you don't know what's working for a brand or not, but you are seeing a proliferation of membership, and you feel this draw, right? It's the keeping up with the Joneses effect. You feel this draw that you have to do it too, right? And that irrationality of a consumer who will just mindlessly pay is in question, right? If you really believe. So this is what I used to do as a strategist, Brian. I'd sit down with a brand and I'd say, let's make sense of the argument you're making right now. Because what I'm hearing is two different things. One, you believe economically there is distress ahead. Yes, that's what you believe. Okay. As a result, you are trying to ask customers to pay you on a more frequent basis over time. Is that how customers behave during economic distress? Maybe with some brands. Why your brand? Why Mr. or Mrs. Dupe running apparel company, right? Athleisure company. Why do you believe that in a time of economic distress that someone will pay you $50 a month to get one credit for a pair of leggings? Why do you think they'll do that for you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think Amy's dead on with this. Like, if you're not offering something of value to them, maybe they actually are. They kind of need to come out on the winning side of this. If you want someone to come join your membership program or your subscription program, they need to feel like they got the better end of the deal. And if they don't, they're not going to do it. Again, it's transactional. Like, what's in it for them? And
I don't think that very many brands consider that the thing that they believe is this massive unlock for their business, and it's a brand new business model, is actually a program with an expiration date. This will be beneficial, and a customer will take advantage of you for the next 24 to 36 months before you decide that you can't be taken advantage of anymore, and it's your time to win as a brand. And that's when the death of this program begins. Okay. So you have 3 years to try to find some other means to replace this when the customer gets soured on the fact that you're going to start trimming back, because you can no longer afford to give them the unfair advantage that you have through a membership program. And that is, business in a nutshell.
I feel like we need to get Dylan Whitman on the podcast. He's super hyped on membership and what the benefits of membership are. And I think we are rightly criticizing the way that people are approaching membership that we've seen where we're like, why would we ever sign up for that? But I am curious. I would love to have him come on and be like, here are some brands that are doing membership right, and here's the results they're seeing. That would be cool.
What I would like is I'd love some intellectual honesty for once from people that you ask those hard questions of. I'd love for them to just look me in the eye and say, do you know why they'll pay me $49 a month? Because there's a sucker born every minute. There's someone out there who will pay the money. All right. Like, that's just how we're going to survive, is the fact that some people are just they're going to spend the money. They're just going to do it.
I know I've bought into things before where I'm like, man, if I just bought stuff piecemeal a la carte, this would have been better. Like, why did I go for the bundle or the membership or whatever? And I now have paid way more than I would have otherwise. Yeah. Few purchases
let's cap this off with so if you're keeping a scorecard of Brian Bingo, we covered Sujo, we covered Costco, we hit on what else did we hit on? We hit on a bunch of things here today.
It was a good time.
But we talked about Amazon. You know what you can't do? You can't close a show about commerce without talking about another juggernaut, and that is Shopify. Shop Day just happened. Shop Day.
Hey, didn't you know about Shop Day? Has always been there, right? Like, it's
I woke up the other day and I was being gaslit from the moment I woke up. Today's Shop Day. Every year on our birthday, we like to celebrate by giving back to you, our loyal customers. I'm like, Shop Day has never existed before. It's like the Frontier annual summer travel pass. Right. It might as I don't care if it's existed or not before. You're going to gaslight me and tell me that it has. It's fine. I've heard it. It's been coming for a long time. Shopify has a Shop Pay product, and Shop Pay started as an app, or started as a payment method within the Shopify ecosystem. Truly was the fastest one-click payment. Who knew? Captives, right? Amazon one-click pay. Of course, Shopify one-click pay, because they have distribution. But I digress. But hey, listen, Shop Pay. I buy a lot of stuff on Shop Pay. Woke up the other day. Shop Day celebrates
Shop Pay.
Shop Pay by retroactively between a specific period of time, giving 1% back in Shop Pay credit.
I'm curious how much I got.
To you, you can go look it up. I'm doing it.
I think it's probably zero. Go to.
You have to go look up your Shop Pay amount.
I know.
If you go to, is it shop.com? What's the Shop app? That's not it. No, don't go to shop.com. What in the heck is that?
Just go to the Shop app, right?
Go to the shop.app. Shop.app. That's what you need. So you go to shop.app, and when you log in, I have $8 sitting in there. And if it's 1% cash back, what does that mean? I've spent $800. But at some point in time between an eligibility period, I guess I've earned $8 in Shop Pay. What you are greeted with when you go to the Shop app is a experience that has been there for a long time, but there was no incentive to use it the way that Shop is now incentivizing you to use it, which is to look at it as if it's a marketplace. So now when you go to the Shop app, I have had wonderful curated results from partner stores and stores that may appeal to me based on my past purchase history in the Shop app. So that has been happening for a long time. In fact, I bought a book from A24, a coffee table book about the state of Florida, from the Shop app by cruising through their sort of marketplace and their sort of algorithmically generated, For You page, but for shopping. What's wild is the $8, such a nominal amount of money. The $8 that I have in my Shop Pay credit now is like burning a hole in my pocket. And I'm just in there like, what can I buy?
What bar of deodorant can I buy?
What can I possibly buy? I need to spend this $8 of credit that I didn't even know I had on this day that did not exist, even though I'm being told it has always existed, to celebrate, the wonderful behemoth that is Shopify. Brian, do you have any Shop Pay credit?
I think if I I think I signed in with the wrong account. I have nothing on this one. That's zero, like zero purchases, which I know is not true. Like I've purchased things on Shop Pay before, but when it comes right down to it, I actually just I don't buy a lot of stuff online. I genuinely don't.
For reference, see the prior 45 minutes of this podcast.
I do buy some things online, but it's definitely I'm not loyal to Shopify sites by any means. Like
it's wild to me that you could become, God, we've used do we win something for using the word loyal like 28 times in this episode? What is also irrational to me is that the small incentive, right? The small incentive of finding money that I didn't know that I had. This happens to my kids all the time. I don't know if you experience this with
couch
your kids,
cushions?
Brian. Yeah, if your kid finds $5, it's like, can we go to Five Below right now at this exact moment? Like $5, I made $5. Oh, I need to go somewhere. We have to go spend this. And that never leaves you.
Man,
I am
hear
exactly
that.
the same way.
I do hear that. Right? Yeah, we our kids are in the same camp, except for they've been actually saving their money, which I've been really proud of them.
That's great.
Yeah, there's an economic uncertainty, and so they're like, "Dad, we know that the economy is not looking super good right now," and I just, I was
your
like,
kids are like, inflation's on the rise. We have no safe store of value, Dad. This Pokemon card is the greatest store of value that I at 11 years old can afford.
Actually, that's not that far off from the truth.
Not far off from the truth. We got it. Hey, we had a Radiant Charizard that we pulled the other day. It was a big explosion of excitement in my house.
Kids swear that they have cards from 95, and I'm like, guys, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, we've checked everything. And I'm like, yeah, we probably should get that into a shop.
Yeah, you should check that out. One thing about this dynamic with having found cash is it's coming at a critical time for Shopify. So Shopify is in the midst of at least 2 or 3 major transitions. One, they've reduced headcount
significantly.
Like
we made a big deal about that initial layoff period, but then they came back and they hit it harder.
And they have a number of sweeping changes. One, they did the Shopify components launch back in January, right? So this new pivot toward the enterprise.
Right. They're responding to RFPs now. We talked about this.
Those are all big changes, but they are piloting right now in an innovation side of the business, GPT-4 and chat experiences. And they have had a GPT-4 partnership for some time. I had heard rumblings about 6 months ago, way back in like December, that Sam Altman and Toby had lots of conversation around how the future of shopping may be impacted by chat UIs and generative AI. In fact, they just spoke together on a panel recently, both Toby and Sam Altman, who's the CEO over there at OpenAI, talking about all of this. In development right now is a chat-centric UI that Shopify has a beta access to, or alpha access to. And this goes along with what I've talked about in the past, shop with. Along with that now is the capability for you to use a plugin in OpenAI in Chat GPT. So if you have access to plugins, if you're a paying subscriber and you have enabled plugins, you can go to the plugin store and you can find the Shop app plugin. Now, right. If you're not watching the video feed, Brian just took a very large swig of Suja on camera and did the death stare in the camera as he did it. What doesn't exist just yet is this agent-based commerce that is, who knows how everything's moving at such an exponential pace. It feels like it's right around the corner. Today, you can query the Shop API with ChatGPT. So you can do very complex things like, I need to plan a trip. I'm going to Italy. We're going to be there for 5 days. And I need sunscreen, a bikini, and I need,
you need a
new
bikini?
bag. Yes, I need a bikini. Right. You could come up with this list of things that you would need, and ChatGPT can help fill in all the gaps, query the shop API, give you all the links to go purchase all the things. It feels like we're very close to just being able to hand over your payment information to
Right. That's
ChatGPT
right.
to automate some of those decision
Budgets,
points.
handing over budgets. I think this is one of the things I talked about when I was in Germany. Is like this is the not so distant future. Being able to have a digital, digital proxy, digital assistant, digital whatever you want to call it, that can handle budgets and make purchasing decisions on our behalf. And it's going to do a really good, it's going to do a really good job because
this is where being called future commerce and not talking about the future of e-commerce is so important, because this to me feels like the birth of three things at one time. One, it is Shopify pivoting to a marketplace app owned channel where people are incentivized more loyalty. Let's come back to the original opening of the show. They're incentivized to seek out Shopify stores so they can earn this benefit that they didn't know they could earn on purpose instead of by accident. You said, I don't go in search of Shopify stores. Well, you can now.
Right.
Okay.
There's a reason
you can
to.
now.
There's a
place to do it,
right.
and there's a reason to do it. And this is that unfair advantage that I talked about before. Is like Shopify has to now, out of the 3% that they're taking off the top of all of their merchants, have to give up 1% back to a customer. How long can they realistically do that, right? This is a 3-year window that they have to really amp up the adoption of Shop Pay. Now, let's get to that. So that's one thing, is that discoverability is now solved. There's an incentive program to do it. This helps merchants. There's an ad model, I'm sure, right behind this, so that you can list yourself in the shop store now. The paying and commercializing that experience where Shopify can make money out of becoming an ad targeting platform,
correct,
for that shopping experience is going to be the next big
Amazon
lever.
ads. It's the next Amazon ads.
Now, so they have this they're creating, it's a nascent channel, it's new, but it's one that is well documented. This playbook has been run before. People know how to do this. Customers now know how to use that. They have all this built-in information relationship with the customer from the last 4 or 5 years of Shop Pay. But it gets even crazier, because the next generation of experience is happening in a brand new channel that never existed before, that has now had 1 billion unique users in the world, and that is ChatGPT. When you have that much attention and the ability to create something that has never existed before, and the end user can architect these types of shopping journeys that are agent based and not human based, that is not just a channel for innovation and growth. It is a platform for disruption. That is an area of growth that Shopify is the first to at the moment. And I think that bodes very, very well for them. And it's going to be fundamentally disruptive if they can turn that into not just a place for discovery where ChatGPT is making recommendations for things, but where you can fulfill on that new purchase intent that is being cultivated there. Yeah.
I think that's dead on. So, and they're going to monetize it along the way. That's the thing that I think is brilliant about this, is as they make moves towards this, these are just easy monetization channels for them. I think that getting people, and I think to your point, like the Shop app, which is not even called the Shop Pay app anymore, it's just the Shop app. It's adoption, I think, has a lot of opportunity. Like there's still a lot of legs. There's still so much growth opportunity for that, as far as people using it for shopping experiences, that Shopify hasn't even touched that yet. You see what I'm saying? Like the opportunity is so big, and all of the pieces are in place to go take advantage of it. So yeah, I'm bullish on Shopify.
I think that you would kind of have to be at this point, especially if you're in e-commerce and you want to see e-commerce continue to grow. Then it is e-commerce today, but I think that there is a wealth of new channel growth for tomorrow. There's something brand new happening right in front of our eyes. You want to talk about loyalty and how irrational it is. To capitalize on that, you kind of have to be thinking about the future, and you kind of have to, you have to be doing these. You have to see this through And Shopify's doing that. It's very exciting. I'm very excited right now because right, one is an outlier, two is a trend, right? Three, I think, becomes the normalization of a new paradigm. So we have to. I don't know. I'm excited. I don't know who's going to come next.
I
Right? What
mean,
other platform could be Amazon? Obviously,
well,
right? But they have their own AI plays to have to worry about, and that's gonna be an interesting
I
thing
would
to
argue
worry
there
about.
may be someone that comes from the open source angle, like that.
Mm,
That could be. We could see someone come out of Europe, open source angle potentially. That it finds a way in here because right now this is very U.S. centric. Shopify is very North America centric. It could come from somewhere else in the world, and I think it would probably be open source because I think that's how you tend to see things like this play out world or in international contexts, is
that's right. Yeah.
through open source projects. So I'm bullish on seeing like a second or third player come through through an open source channel.
Yeah. Well, if that happens, then you'll have heard about it here first on Future Commerce. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for giving us your attention. You can find more episodes of this podcast and more Future Commerce properties, including archetypes, visions, and find out more about things like our Vision Summit. You can find all of that at futurecommerce.com. And we have 2 newsletters, Insiders, which comes out every other Monday, and the Senses, which is Wednesdays and Fridays in your inbox, helps for you to understand and synthesize what's happening at the intersection of culture and commerce, and through the lens of what brands are doing and the places they take up in the world, and what you can learn from it, and how you can try to adapt to what the world is doing and how culture is changing. We can give all that to you and more. futurecommerce.com/subscribe. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Future Commerce.